Welcome to today's show. Each show will focus on a different topic regarding music, gear, and everything in between. My name is Kayla Creamer, and I'm here with my friends Matt and Ted. To kick off the show, we thought we'd start this first episode by telling you a bit more about ourselves and our musical backgrounds. Why don't we start with you, Matt? How did you get into music?
Sure. So, hey, first and foremost, I'm glad to be a part of the show. I started off my music career actually from my father. So my father has been playing guitar now for 40 years. And one of my primary instruments when I first started off was actually the trombone. So, going into school and really having a musical background with how my family was and really kind of going ahead and really picking up an instrument, I figured, hey, you know what, let's go ahead and pick it up. So as we all recall, Kayla and Ted, we all went to one thing that for our listeners here is that we all went to school together. We all grew up together. So you'll hear a lot of stories that we've all been a part of, especially with all three of our music careers, as well as our future guests that come onto the show. So as you recall, growing up into a musical family, I was picked up by the trombone by none of the less, the great and honorable, Ed Tree. And he really just said, hey, I got this instrument, try it out. And I went ahead and graduated with it from 4th grade till 12th grade. But my primary instrument to this day is really the guitar. So I'm going on about 21 years playing the guitar. And that's something that, I just still today, love getting together with, family and friends, just, jamming out.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll come back to that in a few minutes. Ted, how did you get started in music?
Sure. Well, very similar to Matt's story. My dad was also a guitar player. He was in his high school band, so that puts him, he was 15 years old. So he's been playing guitar my whole life, and getting to see him be in bands and perform, always around that environment. So had an interest in music. When I was in the 5th grade, I decided to learn music, and I picked up the clarinet. And Ed Tree was another person quite influential here, our music teacher, and wound up teaching me how to read music. And never forget that, because that really changed the outlook on how I perceived music, and was able to, learn additional instruments, going through to bass guitar, to guitar, being in a band with Matt, and then also moving on to drums, which is my primary instrument right now, but I still dabble in guitar and bass as well. So definitely, given the history of music, of everything, all that kind of accumulated together, and I'll get to hang out with you guys, and we're still talking music.
Indeed. Absolutely. And it's always great to, still get together, especially, during these, during these times. And, we find that, life doesn't stop. Okay. And, with the camaraderie that, all three of us have, in addition to, our close friends we've all grown up with, 15, 20, even going on 25 years of, just getting together. That's what really the bonding is about. It's about just picking up that guitar, picking up those sticks, picking up that bass, dusting off the mics, and really going ahead and just really creating something. And, to this day, I would put our group up against anyone that is a known celebrity that pulls out, these albums to these days, against any one of them. And I guarantee that, within 24 hours, all of us could get a album out, just because of the creativity and the ideas that we have.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, so, like you guys, I've been playing music for a long time. I actually didn't get started from anybody in my family. Actually, at the time, nobody in my family was really all that musical. But I started playing flute in 3rd grade, and then kind of moved around to a whole bunch of different instruments over the years. But, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Mr. Tree as well. I think Mr. Tree was kind of a staple in everybody's lives at that time. But, as I went through high school, I played different instruments and moved over to playing tuba at a certain point, and playing bass in the jazz band, and when I went on to college, I actually made a total transition and went over to playing mellophone, which, most people ask what is a mellophone, and they assume that it's something in the percussion family, given its name. And that's always fun to explain. No, it's
Well, Kayla, let me ask you, what is
What is a mellophone?
that's a very good question, Matt. A mellophone is, and there are people that would probably crucify me for saying this, but this is the easiest way to explain it to people who don't know. It's the marching version of a French horn. So it plays like a trumpet. The bell faces forward. The range is in the mid range. It's the range of a French horn. So I played mellophone for all 4 years of college, and that was a very drastic difference, change for me from high school, where high school our marching band was, I don't know, what would you say, maybe 30?
Yeah.
30 kids
25,
total?
30.
Yeah, about
It was
25, 30, yeah.
So, I went to UMass, and I remember showing up, insert band camp joke here. I showed up to my first day of band camp, and my section was as big as our high school marching band. There were 400 people in the marching band, and there were 26 mellophones. And that was a huge change from being the only person playing that instrument in high school. So, but it was a ton of fun. I made a lot of really great friends from being in the marching band. My junior and senior year, I actually picked up a French horn and started playing French horn in the concert band. And then I graduated and, haven't really done much with brass or woodwind instruments since, but I've been picking my guitar back up again, and,
about time.
Yeah.
About time. You needed to do that.
I know, yeah. So I had taken a hiatus. I played off and on throughout college, but not as much as I had in high school. And, I hadn't played in almost 2 years, and few months ago, Ted reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're doing these jam sessions at my house. We'd love it if you come join us." And I said, I haven't played in a while. I'm very rusty. I don't know that that I'm going to be able to keep up with you guys. And he was like, "No, just come join us." So, I packed my guitar and everything and made my way over to Ted's house, and I'm really glad I did, because it was great finally getting back into playing again. It was great getting to play with other people. It was great getting to see people that I hadn't seen in such a long time. So, for me, it's about the music, but it's also about being able to socialize and hang out with other people and jam and just have a fun time. And, I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention that a big part of the reason I got into playing guitar was because of my dad. My dad, wasn't playing guitar when I first started playing flute in 3rd grade, but he picked it up when I was in about 5th grade, and the two of us did a guitar ensemble at Indian Hill. And, he and I would sometimes play stuff together, and so he was a big part of the reason that I got into playing guitar. And his passing almost 2 years ago is a big part of the reason that I hadn't played guitar for a while. It was hard for me because that was such a connection to him. But like I said, I was really glad when Ted reached out, and it gave me some motivation to pull out my guitar and go hang out with people and make some music and have a good time. So, that's one thing I think we all have in common. I think we all enjoy music. We enjoy getting to do what we do, and yeah, I love it.
and it's great. And Kayla, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the first night that you came and jammed with us, I went to Ted and I said, I really hope she continues to continue on. And Ted was in agreement too, that I think you coming around and jamming with us really gave our whole dynamic a lot more color. And, for anyone that's going to be listening to this podcast, I highly recommend that, if you're a musician, that's the thing that's great about all of us, okay, is that we are the type of musicians that come with open arms, all right? If you have a passion for playing guitar, playing an instrument, hell, it could be the triangle. Okay, if you have a great personality, just have a great, as we'll call it mojo. Okay, behind just your talent of music. Okay, we want you to be a part of that. Okay, we're the type of people that say, hey, you know what, bring the ideas, and, come jam with us, because I mean, we really have a lot of fun, when we all get together. And, Kayla, I think you coming around and picking up the guitar again really brought a lot more dynamic to, our jam sessions. And, I think now I think we're going on now a few months of you continuing to come around with the jam sessions. And I got to say, it's great. It's great to, hear you pick up that guitar. I know that, back in high school that, we had these talent shows. And one of the things, I
wanted to bring this up. You're beating me to it. That's good.
No.
Well, okay. Well, I'll tell you what. So I took a little trip back down, memory lane. I'm gonna go ahead. Well, I'll hand it off to Ted. Ted's gonna talk about, the talent shows that we've all been a part of. And Ted, why don't you take it?
Well, before we jump into that, I do want to point out that because Matt and our other friends that might be guests on this show in the future have been playing together for so long, it certainly can seem intimidating that, for Kayla, you taking some time off on the guitar and then being invited to our jam sessions, it could be intimidating. But we've been playing with each other for 20 some odd years at this point. Yeah. We know we can anticipate changes in the music. We anticipate where the next person's going to go. Everyone has a routine, everyone has a style, and you can read that. And so having you join our session is certainly, made it fresh again. Not to say we were getting stale, but, it certainly adds the flavor that Matt was talking about that certainly makes it more interesting. So that's what I want to echo some of those thoughts.
I appreciate that.
So on to the talent show story.
Boy.
Good old days. In high school, we were obviously playing music in the marching band and the concert band for our respective instruments, trombone, flute, clarinet, and whatnot. And Matt and myself were guitar players in a garage band at the time, called ourselves 5 Amp Fuse. And so we were all excited when they announced that they were going to have a talent show. And so at that point, obviously, Kayla, you were playing guitar at that time too, not with us as a group, but obviously we were doing music during school day anyway. Right. And so when it came down to the talent show, obviously, Kayla, you had a solo performance on guitar, just you on a stool,
I think it was my Guitarmageddon track, because I used to do, Guitar Center used to do these contests called Guitarmageddon, and they would give you a CD with backing tracks, and you would get up. They did multiple nights of it. You would get up, you would perform something with the backing track, and then a panel of judges would pick a finalist to go on, and it went, I think, regional, states, and then they had a national championship. So that was my backing track at the time. That's what I was using.
And if I recall, I think, and maybe we'll put this up on the next episode or whatnot, but I think I have the 2003 Guitarmageddon backing tracks that you're referencing.
Oh boy, I probably got them somewhere too if I go digging. I've been doing a lot of cleaning during this. Haven't come across those yet, but I'm sure they're somewhere.
Well, we have to admit, I mean, for Kayla, when joining those, I mean, the backing tracks were actually really unique and they were really, really creative. So, Guitar Center definitely didn't go easy on the talent that went to go out there. But I mean, when they when they had these open door auditions for those that were playing, I believe that it was like a show itself. Actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you and my dad did an audition at what was it, the Nashua, New Hampshire show? Or
I don't think the Nashua one existed yet. I'm pretty sure it was Natick.
Probably the Natick one, that era. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
because I remember we kept joking. There was a dude that had a guitar that looked kind of like mine, who wore these pink parachute pants
Yes.
that you
There was a
couldn't miss
style.
them. And I remember we were joking around about that. Yeah, that's the
Parachute
thing.
pants.
That's the thing that really stands out to me about that was the dude in the pink parachute pants. Yeah.
So to wrap up the story, I feel like we
Yeah.
start going down tangents. And
Sorry, I
rein you back in.
digress.
We can digress plenty of time. So talent show, obviously you performed that. Our band played 3 songs, I believe. It was 2 covers. I think we did When I Come Around, Green Day, and Blink-182 song, probably Damn It, maybe.
Yeah, I think we played Damn. Yeah, I think we did play Damn It.
And then I know we played an original that you had written, Matt. It was
we don't have to talk about.
Okay, well, that song will remain nameless, but you wrote that, and we performed it. And it was quite an interesting experience because obviously we were really excited, and there was another band I think that was there,
Yeah.
and they didn't sound that fantastic. So we'll leave it at that. And so,
Are we referencing the band that one of our guests that joined on for that show?
I don't know.
So it was, I believe, the song that they covered.
It was Dragon versus
Shinobi versus
the Dragon.
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
Prophet. What was it?
Lost Prophets.
Lost Prophets.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Spencer put a coat hanger over his entire body, if I recall, too. Wasn't that another thing that happened?
It probably
he was singing
was.
and he did a whole anyway.
So, regardless, at the end of all of that, when it came to awards, our band received second place for that talent show, and Kayla, you were first place and outshined us all, being front and center on your guitar track. So, kind of awesome.
I mean, I didn't do it for the awards. I did it for the fun of getting up and playing, but it's good to know that 20 years later, that's still the thing that everybody remembers about me, is that I won the talent show junior year of high school.
Yeah, and we had a gig. We were playing
You did.
a show after their performance. So as soon as we finished performing at the talent show, our stage time, the talent show was still going on. We had to pack up and move because we were setting up to play for a party. Mm-hmm. And so we couldn't even accept our award.
Yep.
Second place award, it had to be given us at school like the next day.
Oh, geez.
So it felt like a rock star moment for us, being in high school and all. So
yeah,
it
absolutely.
was definitely a cool time.
For sure. This might actually be a good time to talk about genres of music. I know you kind of touched on that a little bit, what you were playing in high school. I think your musical tastes have maybe evolved a little bit over that time. Ted, I don't know if you want to kind of talk a little bit about what your musical tastes are now.
Sure. I definitely, brief summary, in the 90s, I would say into the 90s, I was definitely more into like the hip hop type genre. And then Korn came out, or I was exposed to the band Korn, which was a new metal at that era, 1998, 1999. Mm-hmm. That was a rap lyric turned rock. It was background on that. Definitely changed my whole view. And definitely kind of got comfort in some of the anger behind it, I guess. Teen angst, if you will. So definitely switched over into the more the rock side. Definitely enjoyed the Green Day's Blink-182 stuff for our band because, to be honest, it's easy to play. Mm-hmm. And when you're learning an instrument and you want to sound cool, I want to play the stuff that's A, popular, and B, I can play it.
Sure.
That makes perfect sense.
That's that era. And then as I got into senior year of high school and beyond, I've just burrowed myself deeper and deeper into heavy metal, and that's about 90% of what I listen to these days is a variety of metal from all over the world, and definitely appreciate my Lamb of God, Gojira, Mastodon, Demon Borgir, everything. It's a long list.
Sure.
But on the other hand, I enjoy Muse and like the very musical, theatrical types of songs too. So I appreciate technical guitar work. I'm not that type of player at all. But if I'm going to be listening for a particular type of sound in a song that I appreciate, it's definitely, I don't know, the more technical type of rhythm it has, or intricate guitar playing, it really stands out for me. So it
Sure.
tends to be what I gravitate to, without
Right.
being super long-winded.
No, it's good. It's good. Matt, how about you?
Yeah, sure. So, I like a variety of things. I want to say that really my first ever, I want to, how do I say it? I think, again, I've always loved music, growing up in a musical family. And Ted brought out a good thing that Green Day was definitely an inspiration to really be in that startup band, the first ever band, really picking up the guitar. But I have to say that even before picking up the guitar, Christmas, I was actually given two albums that I'll never forget to this day. And that would be the good old classic Red Hot Chili Peppers Californication album, okay, and Rob Zombie Hillbilly Deluxe album.
That
And
you gave me my exposure to Rob Zombie with that album.
And
when we were in middle school. That was awesome.
It was amazing. And still to this day, I think I went through like two CDs because they were just Hillbilly Deluxe 2 CDs, Californication 3 CDs, because they're just so phenomenal. They're amazing albums. Even though Hillbilly Deluxe is like a remix version, it's still just great albums. But my genre really varieties between Red Hot Chili Peppers to Doobie Brothers to indie genres like Band of Horses or I want to say or like Wild Nothing to heavy metal or new metal like Kill Switch Engage. It all really differentiates. It's something that, and even when it comes down to even writing music, it all depends on the type of vibe or the type of lyrics or the type of mood or the type of ideas that you're coming up with. Really taking those inspirations of what I've listened to and really trying to go ahead and come up with my own genre. So one of the things that I have much respect to kind of going back to musical instruments. I have much respect for all of our celebrities out there and all of our professional artists out there that have signature guitars. But my personal thing is I think and I feel that I have enough talent to really go ahead and create my own signature, just like I feel like the rest of us have enough talent that we could have our own signatures as well. So when I come up with writing songs, I try to tend to take little bits in here and there of, okay, well, I liked this part in this album, but I really want to have the crunch of this album and really putting it together and combining it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, but with that being said, Kayla, how about you? Let's turn let's turn it around. And Kayla, what would you say your inspirations are?
Well, I've been listening to hard rock and heavy metal since I was a kid. My dad listened to that stuff growing up. He grew up on Ozzy and Aerosmith and Rush and a lot of those, early to late 70s and 80s rock bands. And so, I distinctly remember growing up him listening to WAF. I think we all kind of grew up listening to that. And so, everything from the Chili Peppers to Rush, in the late 90s, around middle school, when I started to pick up guitar. I don't even remember, where I heard it. It had to have been on the radio, but I remember hearing, and this is another one that people might crucify me for because I know the diehards don't like the newer stuff, but I remember hearing Metallica's Bleeding Me and thinking like, wow, that's a really cool song. I like the guitar in that. And, at the time I was just getting into it, I didn't really know much about effect pedals. And so they're using, I believe it's a flanger. It might be a combo of a flanger and an envelope pedal.
Okay.
I might be actually thinking the envelope, a different song, but I know they use a flanger, and I'd never heard that before. I didn't know what it was. And so for me, I was like, oh, I got to find out what that is and learn how to play it. And then from there, I started listening to more of their stuff and, became a huge fan of them. Still am a huge fan today. And, then I started getting into other bands. Like I started listening to some Megadeth, and I've always been a big fan of Black Sabbath and Ozzy, and that's kind of where, when it comes to guitar playing, that's kind of where my musical tastes are. But I also love listening to jazz and blues and occasionally electronic music, depending on what it is. So, I listen to a little bit of everything, but I don't necessarily play those styles of music on guitar, but I can certainly respect them and enjoy them. And I can certainly envy anybody who can play some really awesome jazz guitar, because I feel like jazz guitar is not easy to play. I was always told that if you could play a solo really well clean, then you were going to play it fantastic with distortion. And I still believe to this day that that's accurate.
My dad's always said that. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can bury all kinds of mistakes and crap under distortion and sound effects, but if you can play something clean, it's going to be phenomenal when you play it distorted. And so
100% agree.
Yeah, I give a ton of credit to, I enjoy listening to really good jazz guitar, blues guitar. Like Wes Montgomery is an amazing guitarist. It's, so my tastes kind of go all over, but I think I'm always going to be more on the heavy metal, hard rock side, and I do like some of the newer stuff too, like Killswitch Engage. I've also always been into some of the grunge bands like Alice in Chains. I'm a huge fan of Alice in Chains.
We went to see them at one point together.
We did 2005, 2006, I believe. They
Somewhere
were at
in
Loco
there.
Bazooka.
Yeah.
And I regret that I never got to see them with Lane Staley. I remember being really saddened and disappointed the day that I found out that Lane Staley had passed away. But,
Which is...
Go ahead.
I was just going to jump in, which the lineup of, I believe, was that the first year that Alice in Chains came out with their new album, Black Gives Way to Blue?
I believe so, yeah.
Which is a phenomenal album, which, again, for those that are listening to our podcast, we'll be dedicating an episode to albums and whatnot.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no, that was their first tour with their new singer, and I want to say his name's Robert Duvall, I think. I don't know off the top of my head, but I was amazed. He does a fantastic job with some of the older Alice in Chains songs. I feel like Lane Staley is a tough vocalist to follow in the footsteps of. He has a very unique, as do all vocalists, but Lane Staley in particular has a very unique voice. And then there are people that'll say, well, Jerry Cantrell sang a lot of the vocals too, and that's true, but Jerry and Lane have similar vocal styles, but Lane had a very unique style, and so but I've always been a huge fan of Alice in Chains. So that's kind of where, when it comes to guitar playing, that's where my tastes kind of lie, is in the grunge, rock, heavy metal area, and I love the classics. You can't go wrong with some good classic rock.
And when I went through my spiel, I just glossed over that particular time period. But I mean, yeah, Boston,
yeah,
Pink Floyd,
sure,
Doobie Brothers,
yep,
all
absolutely.
Leonard Skinner. My dad's style, tapes in the car, going someplace. It was always that end of music to start me off on too. So,
Right.
I have a soft spot for that set of bands and that particular era too. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, for me, I hear some of that older stuff, and it definitely makes me think of my dad because that's the
hits
stuff
you
he
right in the
listened to.
feels.
Yeah, it
Hits
does.
me in the feels. I have a CD. So many songs.
Yeah, no, it's and I've been so my dad wasn't a huge Rush fan, but he had a couple of Rush albums on vinyl, and I've been starting to get into collecting vinyl lately, and
Yeah.
so I've been listening to some more Rush, and I'll tell you, their stuff is like you take each of those musicians, they are incredibly talented as individuals, and then you put them together as a band, and it's just like out of this world, the stuff
You have
that
the
those
Captain
guys do.
Planet of musicians.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's what they've done as a band over the years has just been phenomenal. And I Neil the passing of Neil Peart earlier this year
Mm,
Yeah,
was a
that was a hard
tremendous
one.
loss. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And on that note, that might be a good transition into the final part of our show, which is a segment that we're planning to do every episode called the Album of the Week.
Perfect.
So,
Well, Kayla, I believe that Ted took the first, I took the second. Why don't you take the final? What would you say is the album of the week?
alrighty. So for me, I've been really getting back into listening to a guitar player by the name of Dave Martone. He's a Canadian guitarist. I've been super excited to see that he's been posting videos on Facebook of he's relearning parts of some of his older songs. He's been largely playing classical style guitar over the last few years, and so he's picking up his electric again and starting to kind of shake off the rust from that. And so he's been posting these videos of him relearning parts of his songs by request from fans. And so that led me to dig out his album Zone, which was one of his first albums. And it's all instrumental. And I think part of what I like about his stuff so much is he kind of fits into all of those categories that I mentioned as far as my favorite genres of music. So his stuff is some of it's kind of on the jazzy side, some of it's kind of on the classical side, some of it's on the very heavy metal and hard rock side. And then on some of his other albums, he's got some stuff that's kind of country too, which, I'm not a huge fan of country music, but I can get down with the country music he's playing because it's not straight country. Like he's playing some insane guitar on that stuff. So I would definitely recommend giving that album a listen. And in particular, he's got a track on there called "Fish to L.A.," which is one of my favorite songs by him. So definitely check it out, give it a listen. You won't be disappointed.
Awesome, awesome. Ted, what would you say that your album is?
Well, I alluded to it earlier. One that stands out for me is the album that got me into heavy metal from the in that new metal phase. So Korn's "Follow the Leader,"
Oh,
1998. That really was a game changer for me, and really enjoy the whole album. But I will say that either Freak on a Leash, the song itself, or the title track, I should say, or Got the Life, just super catchy. And I'm always just bobbing my head every time I hear it just because it's so good. So,
I bet still to this day.
oh, dude, I probably listen to this still too much. This album came out, 22 years ago? Yeah, 22 years ago. And
Oh my God.
I hate to remind you, but definitely still high up on my playlist.
That's awesome. That's great.
Nice.
Not that we just
And
ate.
the music video, by the way, Matrix style, following a bullet through, and then like it explodes different things, and so good.
I'll take it.
Nice, nice.
The years of music videos and whatnot.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna have to go with for my final take for albums. I'm gonna have to go with the classic, released 2002, Red Hot Chili Peppers. By the way, I think after listening to Californication and really being addicted to it, that when By the Way came out, you know, and during that time, I was really, I didn't, you know, I wasn't into sports. I wasn't into really shows. You know, it was just MTV, VH1, you know, Fuse back then. That used to be a show. I don't think it's there. I don't think it's here anymore.
Fuse was a channel, I believe.
Yep, yep. Fuse was a channel.
Yep.
And even you know the newly born MTV2, which was literally dedicated to just music videos. I don't think it is now, but saw the By the Way music video, fell in love with it. Didn't even know at that time that the Red Hot Chili Peppers came out with the album. Picked it up, and I believe I went through like 3 CDs of them because it would be just an album that I consistently kept listening to. You know, Can't Stop, and you know, even to this day, you know, Ted, you know that you know, when we get together or jam sessions, that Don't Forget Me is a song that we all cover together. And, you know, I really take Don't Forget Me to heart, really, when it comes down to all of us when we jam, because really, besides the fact that the song is, first off, very psychedelic, very spacey, very like earthy, and really kind of like mellow, almost kind of like a, you know, an acid trip. Okay, that when we all get together, like we take our own individual talents and really give it more color, more flavor to the song when we play it. So, but besides the fact that when we play it, like, you know, the title of it is Don't Forget Me. So I think of all of us growing up together, that, you know, Don't Forget Me is basically saying, hey, you know what? Like, we're all gonna have this all together, no matter where we go in life. So, you know, that's one song that in one album that I really take to heart, because, you know, it just reminds me of all of us when we get together, and at the same time, a phenomenal album that really got me more into Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I'll also point out songs off that album are my go-to for karaoke. Just saying.
Yes,
Anthony Kiedis,
that is
somehow
true.
I can make that work. So
that is true.
Yeah, I got a few songs off of that album that are my go-tos.
I will say, so I love the album. I even think, you know, the song Doze is a great, awesome song too. And I may get in kind of, you know, Kayla, kind of using your words to be like, you know, may get, you know, differences on this, but I wasn't a big fan of the Zephyr song, and I don't know why. Like, I tried, if there was any type of a song that maybe I skipped, is the Zephyr song. I couldn't really get into it, but other than that, I think the rest of the album is phenomenal. And again, really an album that, you know, I keep to heart. So yeah, so that's my album of the week.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing, guys. That's all the time we've got for today. But again, welcome to Distorted Opinions. We thank you for listening, and we hope you'll join us again next time.
All right. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you.